we can jump right in here, huh? And so this is a school assignment. I have to kind of write a little paper about it. And, these were the questions that, someone who is influential and, knows a lot about teams and things like that. And so, those were the questions. And then I get to, let me see here. Let me pull this up here. And then I get to, write a paper that talks about, let's see here, whom did you interview and why? The purpose and content of the organization, and comparing it to kind of what's out there in the real world and things like that. But yeah, so that's it. So, the first question is, when creating a team, how do you ensure the team aligns with the organization's belief, values, and attitudes? What factors or elements must be considered? What strategies would you apply to accomplish this goal? I know that's kind of a mouthful, but
we'll break it down. So I think the first thing that any team leader, when he's looking out to create a team, the first thing that the guy must look at is what is he setting out to accomplish? What is this team that he's wanting to get together going to do? So if he has clarity about what the aim is, and he has done his homework around, or done his critical thinking around how is he going to go about achieving that, in terms of what is the aim, what are the essential verticals within the aim which will lead to the aim being accomplished, what are the skill sets that are required to achieve this aim. And, so when he has clarity around the aim and what it is going to take to achieve the aim, then that person knows what does he need within the team in terms of human resource, right? So that's the first step to gain internal clarity. The team leader should, gain internal clarity, have a lot of clarity on what is he going to, what is he setting out to achieve. And then from that, he'll get the skill sets and the resources that he requires, to achieve that. And then from there, he goes down towards the step of selecting a team. The criteria of selection of this team would come. So if we talk about the military, and we talk about within the military, from my experience, if I talk about the special forces, so special forces essentially are tasked to do something that would normally be impossible, or very, very highly, very, very difficult to achieve by any normal means, right? So the first thing is to join a special forces team, there would be a selection process, like a probation. So in the probation, you go, we check certain things. So if I select a team, the first thing I would see is how much belief that does the person have within in himself or herself, self-belief. So it should be a self-motivated person, and self-motivation would come from self-belief. So the first thing that I would do is check the self-belief of that person.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then the second, so from self-belief, actually a lot of things would get sorted out, very naturally, would flow out from self-belief itself. The second thing I would see is the skill sets that the person has, and are those skill sets in alignment with what we are aiming to achieve, from what I've noted down as the verticals that will lead to our aim being achieved. So self-belief, skill sets, and adaptability, because the more complex a task and the more spread out over a period of time the task would be, we would have to adapt on the fly. So how fast a person can adapt to changing scenarios, changing circumstances, resourcefulness. That's another thing I would look at, because a lot of times, you don't have what you think you need to have in terms of external resources. So you need to generate that on the fly. So resourcefulness is something that I would definitely be looking at. And then I would look at ability to operate in darkness, or I would say, how to put it, an ability to operate when there is what is the word, when there is lack of clarity.
Oh yeah.
No, lack of clarity. So often when in the SF, you have to operate on your own, or you are cut off from communications and things like that, and you have to take these decisions on your own. And when there is lack of clarity in a particular situation, or life throws a curveball at you, and you haven't got the rule book in your hand, and you've not been instructed what to do in such situations, you need to be able to think by yourself. So yeah.
Okay.
Ability to basically think, and I would call it decision-making ability. I would want that.
Okay.
So ability to operate efficiently when ambiguous environments, ambiguity. So ability to operate in an ambiguous environment.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
Then I would definitely look at the person's decision-making ability.
Mm-hmm.
Is that person able to take decisions for themselves, and be able to take a call when there is no superior around, or like in combat, the superior may be behind the other tree, but you can't talk to the man, so you need to be able to take the decision on your own what to do. So yeah. Then I would call, then next thing I would look at is endurance. In the SF, one looks at physical endurance, mental endurance, both, but depending on the task that we are setting out to achieve. But definitely, even in the corporate world or any other environment that you operate in, even if it's anything, you're studying for something or something, even mental endurance and physical endurance, both. So endurance, I would say, both mental and physical.
That's excellent.
So that's one more thing. And then what else? Definitely honesty. So a person needs to be honest internally first, so that there could be external, chance for external honesty to happen. So a lot of people, even though they may not be, lying to your face or something like that, or they may not be habitual liars, or would have the, but if they lack internal clarity, they would naturally not be speaking the truth, So it's a kind of a subjective thing, but ability to have insight, within your self-awareness, I would say.
Yeah.
So if you're connected with your inner truth, then speaking the truth outside becomes very, very simple. You don't have to really beat around the bush too much. So.
Okay.
And other than that, I would also definitely look at the person's spiritual quotient. That is something that I would place and rate very, very highly, because everything else, you can work around here, there. But when I say spiritual quotient, I would not really, I'm not really, pointing towards a concept of God or religion or something like that. But with spirituality, I would mean one's view of the world around them, how should I say?
Or it's kind of like, or it's kind of like a person understands their own spirituality. Would
Yes.
that be it?
Yes.
Like that?
Yes.
Yes. They're comfortable in that, stuff like that.
Yeah. So yeah. So okay. So okay. Let me just look at this thing. Okay. When creating team, how do you ensure the team aligns with the organizational beliefs? So all of these things which are there, if a person has a high degree of these things, he would, obviously align with the organizational beliefs or not align. If a person will not align, that person would walk off. You don't want to force somebody to align into your team. That person should naturally fit in, so like that. And then the values and attitudes would, adaptability, resourcefulness, skill set, self-belief, spirituality, decision. So a person essentially being very, very comfortable with themselves would be very easy to work with,
Right.
and naturally flow from there. So these are the factors, elements which I would consider straight off the bat. What strategies would I apply to accomplish this goal? Okay. So firstly, I would have clarity within myself about what is it that I'm setting out to achieve. I would have done a lot of internal thinking and feeling around the whole thing. And before I really go and speak to anyone else about, because I would be very, very sure about what I'm doing and why am I doing it. And so if I have all my own belief and my own values and my own attitudes very, very, very clear about what I'm setting out to achieve, then it would be very, very easy to find a team that would settle into where we are headed. Because I would know exactly what I'm looking for, and then finding it would be looking for what I'm for that kind of team wouldn't be very difficult. So that's one thing. So I would always stress my own internal clarity before I go out looking for a team. And second thing that I would do after having my own internal clarity would be to set up a kind of a selection process where I would be able to, through a conversation or through a certain, let's say, an aptitude test or something like that, where I can figure it out. For me, like in the SF and all, with a lot of experience, within about 5 to 10 minutes of interviewing a new soldier, I could figure out, So
yeah.
So
yeah, I know what you mean.
So like that, so I could figure it out.
Okay.
And yeah. So okay. Post the probation, so in the probation itself, I would generate scenarios, maybe on purpose, generate scenarios just to test out how the person reacts during the training process. Let's just say when we train in the SF, in the military, when we are training, so we go through certain physical exercises, we go through mental exercises and things like that. So I would institute those physical and mental check cycles within the probation itself to see whether the assessment that I have made of the person is as close, is on the mark. And if it's not on the mark, how far is it? And is the person trainable? So like that.
Right.
Everybody can't be 100% in all these various things that I'm looking at. But there are some things that, as a leader, you can build in, you can help another person develop certain qualities. They have the potential.
Right.
Certain
Right.
qualities, already would be existing, right on display. So yeah. So I would have when I'm selecting the team, post an interview, I would have a certain process where I'm interacting with them in a very free kind of an environment, and alternate between a very free and a stressful environment to see how they are naturally and how they are under pressure. So it would confirm whatever it is that I'm looking for, and then once that is done and I've selected the team and and we are on target, and we're moving into ops cycles. At that time, I will trust the team. Whatever I have selected, I will make do. Whatever it is, even if it is gets a little heavy down the line. Maybe somebody, because circumstances, situations are always fluid as you move into achieving what you're setting out to achieve. Today, when you sit and look, let's say 5 years down the line, that okay, this is what I want to do 5 years down the line, and you are basically making calculations based on what you can predict today. But 2 days down the line, the situation may be different. 10 months down the line, the situation will change again. So to be able to take a team that I have selected and then keep operating in fluid environments which are constantly changing, and so many things that I would or would not have calculated, I would need to trust the team itself. So yes. So I must have trust within myself and the ability to, like a kind of a father figure, one may call it, where you're able to look beyond little things and not take things personally, and leave the and hold somebody's hand when it needs to be held, and then pull him along. And okay. So team spirit is definitely one thing that there are a lot of super soldiers, who operate super efficiently, when they're alone, or they operate well in small teams. But when the moment it extends into 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 people, they start kind of disintegrating, because some of these guys are like alpha males, so they don't like operating in packs, right? So if it's a team I'm getting together, I would want people who can operate in packs as well. They have the confidence and the ability to operate individually, but they would have to have the heart and the emotional quotient which is required to be able to operate with other people as well, and fill in the gaps where so kind of a community kind of a spirit, a person who has heart. I would definitely check how check the EQ of a person, and that's something else I would definitely look at, whether the person can operate within a team or not. He may be fantastic Superman and this, that, but if I can't, if that person starts disintegrating when the moment other people walk into the room, that's not what I want. Okay.
Okay.
All right. If there's something else that comes to my mind, I'll say.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. All right. Well, the second question is, what is your perspective on diversity? What happens when diversity is lacking? Can this team be effective? Why or why not?
Okay. I would first thing I would say again, I would circle back to the origins of such a question, that what is my perspective on diversity in teams? So a team would be as diverse or non-diverse based on the task we are setting out to achieve, based on the aim, right? For example, let's just say, I'm sorry, I keep circling back to, military-based.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Mm-hmm. Whatever you have experience with, that's the idea.
So if a particular operation needs to be carried out, let's say in a covert or a clandestine manner, in let's say in let's say Maldives, let's just say, all right. So I wouldn't go into Maldives with people who'd stick out like sore thumbs, right? I would look at people who would fit in, So I necessarily may not be looking at white people, black people, brown people, yellow people, right? I would be looking at people who look like Maldivians, who can speak the language. If let's say a particular country is a country where women are supposed to be women are let's say suppressed or not, treated as equals in society, and they would not freedom of movement, the kind of freedom of movement that an operator would require, I would not take a woman, right? So if it's a kind of a situation or circumstance where somebody, let's say, who is a gay or bi or lesbian, would immediately be picked up and highlighted and spotlighted, I wouldn't choose that person. So it depends on the circumstance and
Sure.
it depends on what. Yeah. So I have no issues with man or woman or sexual leanings or whatever clothes people like to wear or not wear. I have, as a leader, I have no diversity in my mind. My mind is singular, and that singular is based on what I am setting out to achieve and whatever is required to achieve that. So as diverse or as singular as the task requires. That is my perspective on diversity.
Yeah, I used to say that I'm colorblind.
Okay.
With respect to, I don't see any, just what you just said. So you don't see any of that other stuff. You see performance. So no, excellent. Thank you.
What happens if diversity is lacking in the team? If a situation requires a team to be diverse and the team is not diverse, you will not achieve your target. Simple as that. You'll have a lot of issues along the way. Some situations, like in the corporate world on the city street, where we see, so if we just look at men and women as such, women have a certain, I would say, a higher emotional quotient, if I may go so far to speak. Like they have a sixth sense which is tuned to a different dimension, and men have a certain sense which is tuned to a different dimension. They have commonalities. We have it's like two circles with overlapping spaces. So women would definitely in certain when the task to be achieved is expansive in nature, it would require different personalities, it would require different attitudes, it would require different skill sets, it would require different kind of emotional spaces, different kind of personalities coming together. And women in many situations would bring in a healthy balance and a healthy resource based on how naturally they are to balance out a certain situation so the target can be achieved. So it's all task oriented. Everything, the selection of the team, diversity within the team, all of that is depending on what the task requires, demands. So.
Okay. Yep, awesome. Yeah, thank you. All right. So the next question is, how does decision-making work in a team?
All right. Okay. Again, I will go back to my. So when I was leading a team, I would. Let's say we have an operation. We are operating. We are in a target environment. Let's just say, and when I was leading a team, I would. What I would do is the same information or intelligence that would be coming to me, I would make that same information, same intelligence, same resources, same interpreters, everybody, the same data that was coming into me, I would make the same data available to the rest of the team as well. Doesn't matter whether that guy is a new soldier who's just come in or it's the head of the team that, so I would, whatever, as far as possible in keeping efficiency in mind, as far as possible, I would make the same data that's coming to me, I would make the same data accessible and available to the men as well, to the team as well. And I would ensure, or in a way kind of enforce, very, very gently, I would enforce that everybody thinks at the same level that I'm trying to think, like planning operations, where do we have to go and operate, who are we looking for, how are we going to get there, where should we go and operate next, what's our target, what are the timelines, right down to detail, right? I would give enough time, as much time as possible. Sometimes you have to just get up and move, and that's where trust comes in. But sometimes you have ample time to plan and all, right? So when I used to have ample time to plan an op, I would make the same data that is available to me available to the team, and I would encourage and very, very strongly encourage each and every soldier on the team to plan the operations to the extent that I would be planning it to, at least. So then we would have a team briefing. When we would sit down, a very, very informal briefing, we would sit and we would talk. I would start from the youngest guy and I'll ask him, okay, tell us, where should we go? What should we do? So that guy would get up and then he would talk and he would say, okay, I think based on the inputs that we got, we should be going here, we should be going there. So I would listen to him and then I would tell him that, okay, because I also have gone through my mind about the whole op. Like I have my own plan sitting in my head, but I wouldn't talk about it. I would listen to the youngest guy's plan. And then I would tell him, okay, buddy, don't you think that if we are going this way, these are the pros and cons of doing it like that? And then, okay, you said this, we should go and operate there. Do you think that the pros and cons are like that? So I would talk him through, give him situations that he in this thing, and slowly, either my own plan, which is in my head, would evolve, or his plan would start shifting towards the plan that I've already got in my head, right? But he wouldn't know that's happening. And all the other people who are listening to that would slowly start thinking about all the questions that I'm asking the other guy. And then they would, any plans that they have come up with would start shifting. So by the time, of course, it may be a little lengthy process, and we would do it only if we have that kind of time. And slowly, eventually, what would happen when we finished 2-3 hour long discussion around a particular operation, the whole team, before I would say, before my turn came, the whole plan would be exactly what I had thought in my head already. So what would happen is that the team would think that the team would believe that they have planned the op. It's not Major Jacob who's come and told us what to do. We have decided what we want to do, and he's happy with the plan, and let's go ahead. And so when we go into with that kind of a mindset, when everybody is feeling like they have planned the operation and they have been vital to the planning of the operation itself, everybody becomes instantly completely committed to the op.
Yeah.
So when the commitment is there, like that level of commitment is there, when we go into an op and shit hits the fan, and shit usually always hits the fan. So at that time, since the commitment and the self-belief levels are so high in the plan that has already been made, so when chaos is going on, when bullets start flying and chaos is happening, people are able to adjust on the fly. People are able to think on the fly. People are able to mesh, and the team can be very flexible and operate very with a very high level of efficiency while being in the midst of chaos. So basically, I would make the team believe that it is their plan that's happening, and yeah. So
no, that's excellent.
So that's how I would ideally do a decision-making process if we had time. If we didn't have time, what I would do is, for example, when I was training my team and all that, and we would have our PTs and things like that, we had a 6 months, off ops. So what I would do is we would have these speed marches. Every day there would be a certain increase or decrease in the battle load that we are going into training with, right? So if the team is going to be carrying a 5 kg pack, I would make sure that my pack is 7 kgs. If the team is going in with a 7 kg pack, I would always be 2 kgs higher, going up to a 20k. So I would be carrying a 22 kg rucksack. So the team always knew this bugger is carrying more than us, right? So they would learn to trust me like that during training. So I would sit with them, eat with them, drink with them, sleep in the same bed with them, things like that. I did not need to wear my ranks to command them.
Right.
So I hardly ever wore my ranks actually while commanding the team. So it was a very freestyle kind of a thing. But eventually, what happened was that the team's level of discipline was so extremely high that even by the style of walking, when even there were other teams around, but people could spot, okay, see that guy walking, that guy must be from Jacob's team, or from that team, that particular team, let's say Charlie team. So the internal discipline, there was so much of freedom within the team. The team was like vibrating with abundance within. Each man was feeling very abundant within them. So when there was time, we would be able to talk and plan together. But when there was no time, they would trust me, because of the previous kind of way we had been living together and operating together. Sometimes we'd be going into minefields. So all of these things affect decision making, the trust. So we'd be going into minefields. So there would be places where the Scout 1 and Scout 2 basically who are penetrating into the minefields. I would watch them. I would be walking number 3 because I was commanding the team also, and I was controlling the scouts as well. So there were times I would notice that one of the scouts is like feeling afraid because we didn't have mine detectors, right? We were checking with our feet and analyzing the terrain and moving. So I would take the lead. So I would pull that guy back because he needs to take a break because constant stress of moving in a minefield. I'll pull him back and lead the team. So at times, things like that. So when the men would see that, they would the trust would come in. So with that trust, I was able to take decisions very, very quickly, and even without telling anybody what to do, decisions would be taken in the direction that would help the team achieve rather than get destroyed. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. No, that's excellent. Yeah, some great points here. So for sure. And all right. And you may have touched on some of this already, but next one is, do you believe that every member of the team needs to assume a leadership role?
All right, not necessarily. So the question here is, do you believe every member of the team needs to assume a leadership role? Does not need, the need is not there, but it would be desirable when required. Let's say I get a hit and I'm down, and the radio guy is with me, the comms guy is with me, and we are in midst of a contact, and I'm out. So that guy should be able to take command. So everybody should be able to take command, but it does not necessarily mean that everybody needs to take command. It depends on situation to situation. I would say that there's a thing out here. I'll give you an example. Very, very interesting example. So we were operating somewhere in the mountains, and the whole team was out. Right, we were out, and we were like good about 2-3 days away, and we had left a skeleton crew of a barber, a cook, and a washerman, behind. And our camp got attacked by a terrorist group. Big group had come in, and our camp was on low ground, and basically a group of terrorists came on a high ground, and they started machine gunning the hell out of our barracks. So the cook, the barber, and the washerman basically came out, went into the armory, took out the rocket launchers, and took on the terrorist group, and basically I think killed 6-7 of them. So so they took a leadership role there, and so it's like that. So yeah, I've gone into ops with clerks as well because everybody else was out and something came in, and I just I told my clerk, come on, let's go. So yeah, I used to train everybody. So it was like that. So there's no need to, but the capability should be there in everyone. They should be groomed like that. That if required, anybody can step up and take charge.
Okay.
One of the things where we go back into the first question was, I would say that a person should have a lot of self-respect, but minimal ego. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely.
Even these, and the leader himself should actually, should have a higher perspective where he can ego and self-respect are like two opposite ends of of a spectrum. So the consciousness of a mind can shift between ego and self-respect. It can shift into varying degrees. Sometimes the self-respect can be higher. Sometimes the ego, which is kind of let's say a byproduct of insecurity. So when a person starts feeling insecure, that person might uh, cater for that insecurity by expressing an ego, right? So a team commander or a person who's leading a team and all should be able to look past that ego and help that person, get more secure, so that shifts back towards self-respect rather than ego. But definitely a very, very high level of self-respect should be there in the person to be able to operate efficiently within a team and face whatever the team is facing externally. That'll get you through a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, and even self-respect is a product of, it's a fluid thing sometimes, So when the team trains hard, when the officers and men, they sit together and they spend a lot of time together and they share their, their families, they share their problems, they share things like that. It helps develop a secure environment, and the egos start to fall away. And when discussions like that happen, when you have free time and you just finished 2 hours of hard physical training, and you sit down on the grass and share a cup of tea and break a biscuit together, and that kind of sharing builds a lot of security and self-respect as a team and as an individual, within every individual of the team as well. So definitely breaking bread together and playing games together and things like that, doing other activities together, and so as a leader, I would say you need to have a lot of heart. So you yourself have to have a lot of heart to be able to develop that heart within the team itself. Everybody has potential to have a large heart, but depending on how realized you are, you have control over how much of that heart you can express or not express, or tap into and not tap into. So.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. Yeah, very true. Yep. Well, we got about 15 minutes left. Yeah. And I guess the last question is, and like I say, you might have covered some of this, but what is your leadership style and approach to communication? And I know you kind of already talked about this by being transparent with the data as it comes in, and making it think like.
Very specifically, I would say my leadership style would be fluid. I would call it fluid. So there would be times when I would have to step up, and it's like once the whole team was penetrating. I was just a young lieutenant and very, 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 very young. It was one of my first couple of ops I was going into. I just finished my selection and I was in, and we got ambushed by a big group, and there was we were all laid out. So the entire team was, when we got basically a heavy amount of machine gun fire came on us, and we were all like flat on the ground. And at that point, I was just lying down. I was just thinking, when we got ambushed and it was on, I was just thinking, the man who gets up now and he starts firing back, that's the leader. Because you have to, there's only one way of getting out, and that is to, fire back, to suppress the enemy, to be able to find some space to move around. Otherwise, it's just a matter of time. So I got up and I started firing back, and I was just looking left, right of me, and everybody was down. And just as people saw me get up and stand and fire back from a hit position, people started standing up and firing back itself. The entire team stood up, and we just threw hell back. So I would say my leadership style would be fluid. There are times when you stand up and you're the man, right? And then there are times where you let everybody, whoever needs to be the man, be the man. So And I would, some people would look at me and say, "Oh, he's lazy" or something like that. I was like, it's okay, because a leader does not need to prove a point. Generally, it's the team that it's always like you generally be. You'd let it's a team. Like the leader is also a function of a team, and a leader is not an island, right? There are various functions within a team which is designed to achieve a certain target, and those functions, there has to be redundancy in those functions, that people can be able to take on each other's roles, so they are aptly skilled accordingly. And there are times when a leader would stand up and be the leader and from the forefront. Otherwise, there are times when a leader steps back and allows other people to take the stage, and gives the stage and wants them to take the stage, because that is also a function of leadership as well. That is a leadership. It's not in your face, it's just behind, but it is kind of leadership. So I would say a very fluid style of leadership, depending on the situation. I would see what would be the best thing for the team to do and do that. And I would always, one thing I would tell them, like, getting selected in a special forces team is your award. It's your honor. I used honors and awards as a very, very solid tool to award my team. So, things like that. The leader has many tools at his disposal, and if he's fluid and he's centered or clear, and he's able to see what needs to be done at what point of time, and is able to use the rules rather than get used by the rules, So, and my communication while leading a team would be very frank, open, and straightforward, no bullshit. And so communication does not necessarily mean for me like just talking to people. It would also, like when we are doing physical exercises, first thing that I'm there while the physical training is going on, even though there's nobody to question me whether I'm there or not. The second thing would be to communicate, to constantly, very subtly communicate to the team that, brother, I'm there, and I'm there as much as you are, and and I trust you, and things like that. So it's, for example, we have a system within the armed forces where every month, officially, and it's enforced, very, very seriously enforced, every month officially, the team commander is supposed to be addressing the team formally every month. Okay, this is the events that have happened in this month, and okay, anybody, any problems, this, okay, you guys don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, and good job done over here. It's a professional, it's an official thing, and it's all noted in, team commander said this and team commander said that, kind of a thing, and then I had to sign it, and it would go up to my commanding officer and things like that. So in 2.5 years when I was commanding a team, I took that particular official parade that I had to do, I did it only 3 times. The day I took over command of the team, the day I was taking the team into the operations, and the day I left the team. So that's it. I spoke to them 3 times formally. So it's the day I was taking command of the team, I simply told one thing: this team is going into operations. Anybody who does not want to go into operations, get up and leave now. And third thing is, like, this, I promise you this, the state that you are in today, I'll get you back in this state. That's it. That was my first 3 points finished. And with those 3 points, I essentially took command of that team. So that was communication, like, to me, that we are here to do something, and if we don't do it properly, one of us will get shot. Some of us will get shot. Some of us, all of us have got wives and kids and all, and I don't, your families is my responsibility. I'm going to be fucking efficient about this, for sure. So for me to be efficient, this is what is required. If anybody does not want to go into combat, please get up and leave now. Your bedding and your documents will reach you at home. So like that.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks so much. Vic, I know this can be kind of exhausting to do. So I really appreciate it. And so hope that, maybe some of it can, for me, sometimes when you verbalize stuff, it helps reinforce it. So, all right, so we're done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Maybe that's approach we can take with Patty is say, hey, we want to team up together. Wonder what their response would be. Anyway, I'll let you go. Again, right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Pleasure speaking to you. Thank you.
Yep.